Welcome, one and all, to Tech Tuesday, the best way to start your early to mid work week, bringing you the latest news in tech. Today is April 22nd, 2025. Let's dive right into the news of the past week. Starting off with our headline story. On Thursday, Discord, the popular communication platform for gaming and other online communities, was sued by a New Jersey general attorney for failing to protect its youngest users on the platform. The suit, which was filed by Attorney General Matthew Platkin, accuses Discord of violating the New Jersey Consumer Fraud Act, stating that Discord knew that its safety features and policies did not protect children on the platform, and yet they refused to take any action to improve the safety of these children, while also misleading parents on the manner in which certain safety features on the platform worked. In particular, in the release published by the attorney, the main complaints addressed in the suit are, firstly, that Discord has not taken the appropriate measures to ensure users on the platform are of the appropriate age of at least 13 years old in order to use the platform. They simply ask for the user's age and require no additional verification of said age. Therefore, it is likely that despite the age requirement, there are many Discord users below the age of 13. Second, Discord lied about the nature of their direct messaging safety features. While options are available in the Discord app, which claim to scan direct messages from strangers and or friends for explicit content or media, Discord knew that these claims were entirely untrue, that there was no such scanning that was in place, but still, they advertise these features as such. Thirdly, Discord's default settings related to direct messaging make it incredibly easier for predators to contact children and slip, quote, under the radar. This is because by default, a Discord user can receive messages from anyone, just as long as that user shares at least one server with the user messaging them. Therefore, official servers for a variety of children's games like Minecraft, Fortnite, and Roblox could unknowingly be connecting predators to children. It's as simple as person connects to this server and anyone in this server they can message directly, which is the default setting, which is definitely a little bit wild. Additionally, Discord makes it incredibly easy to friend strangers once they have messaged you, and there is no countermeasures in place to prevent predators who have been banned from just creating a new account under a new email. It is incredibly easy for predators to circumvent the supposed security measures that are in place. And lastly, Discord's marketing and features are implemented in a way that clearly appeals to children, but also does very little to enforce the features and systems in Discord that are meant to protect those exact children from explicit content. And I hate to be that guy, but as I was researching about this lawsuit, I stumbled upon a picture of the CEO of Discord, and I don't want to make fun of this guy, but at the same time, he looks exactly like the guy who made the day in the life of a Discord mod video. Anyhow, in response to the lawsuit, a spokesperson from Discord said that they dispute the allegations and that they believe that they are proud of the, quote, continuous efforts they have made to make Discord safer. And seriously, I want you to think to yourselves, when was the last time you can remember a safety feature was added to Discord? Because personally, I can't think of a time. And also, if it's true that they've been making a, quote, continuous effort to improve the safety features on their platform, I think that speaks volumes about the current state of said platform. If you've been having to make continuous efforts to keep children safe on your platform, that says a lot. And also, when I tried to find a list, just any list of the features that Discord has added to protect children specifically, what I found instead was an article published on the Discord website about how users can avoid violating their child sexualization policies. Basically just saying, hey guys, don't abuse children. And if they think that just saying that is going to remove the problem from their platform, they are insane. I understand what they're trying to do, but I don't think they understand that this reads in an entirely different way from how they mean. Anyhow, I think we are probably all in agreement that the Discord app is pretty useful, but Discord as a company sucks. I think everyone has felt that way for a very long time. So hopefully with this lawsuit, they will be forced to make some kind of changes to actually better their app for once. That's the first story. Moving right along, this week was clearly one filled with drama because up next, we have an update on another lawsuit that we began covering last week, the antitrust trial between Meta and the FTC. Last week, we talked about how the goal of this trial is to potentially get Meta to divest from WhatsApp and Instagram, and while the trial had only just started as of last week, there are now some updates. It turns out that Meta has actually been anticipating a lawsuit just like this one for quite some time. Conversations were found from all the way back in 2018 where Mark Zuckerberg discusses spinning off Instagram as its own company. In the messages, Mark Zuckerberg raises concerns about how calls to break up big tech companies had been growing. So if they didn't decide to spin the company off, then they would likely be forced to within 5 to 10 years anyways, which is probably pretty damning evidence considering that this message is from 7 years ago, which is almost exactly in the middle of the time window that he predicted it would be, saying, hey guys, we should probably do this, otherwise we're gonna get sued in 5 to 10 years, and then 7 years later they get sued. Additionally, Zuckerberg stated that spinning off the companies might be to Meta's benefit, as according to him, most companies actually perform better after they have split. Another thing that was found to be a point of discussion in Facebook is how Facebook sees YouTube as one of its biggest competitors, given how many teenagers use it and the fact that very few teenagers use Facebook nowadays. So all of this talk about other companies and them being competition might be why Mark Zuckerberg may have done a little bit of trolling to some of these other big tech companies. Intentional or not, it turns out that Meta did not do the greatest of jobs when it came to redacting information about their competitors when presenting evidence during the trial. Supposedly, private information from Apple and Snapchat about how often their users engage with their apps and platforms was shown unredacted during the trial. And while maybe this is not incredibly sensitive information, lawyers from both Apple and Snapchat said that the mishap was, quote, egregious. And Google also called out Meta for their mistake. And apparently this wasn't the only slip-up they made. At the very beginning of the trial, Snapchat expressed their frustrations related to Meta supposedly leaking confidential information that they had received from Snapchat during their opening statement. Literally first words to come out of their mouth, they were leaking confidential information. So intentional or not, Meta is definitely putting a strain on the relationships that they have with other big tech companies. Though, I do kind of doubt that this will turn into anything bigger than the company equivalent of two tough guys yelling at each other from opposite sides of the street. But anyhow, that is the end of that. We are moving right along to another bit of news. Actually, not even news, but rather me just saying I was right. Because in the Tech Tuesday that I posted 2 weeks ago, I talked about how Claude and ChatGPT were launching exclusive deals for college students, which allowed them to access the pro versions of each respective model for free, along with how Claude was partnering with Canvas, and how what exactly that entailed hasn't been announced just yet, but still, I wanted to give some words of warning and also a prediction. So from 2 weeks ago, I said that if Google saw either ChatGPT or Claude find any amount of success from these offers and deals, that Google would likely follow suit, with my main concern being that Google may eventually try to implement Gemini into Google Classroom. lo and behold, it seems like I was right, because the gears at Google seem to have started to turn, as in the past week it was announced that Google is now offering free Gemini Advanced to all college students from now through the end of the next academic year. And all you need is an email that ends with .edu, and you too can get a free year and some change subscription to Google Gemini. So I told you so. But I know that I've been a bit of an AI doomer, and don't get me wrong, LLMs are a great tool, but also at times they are kind of a scary tool. But I don't want it to seem like everything on this show is meant to be AI doom. So today, I'm bringing a bit of AI bloom, because a few days ago, this Twitter user tweeted saying they were wondering just how much money OpenAI has lost from people just saying please and thank you to their models. And to this, Sam Altman replied, saying it was tens of millions of dollars well spent. And while this number doesn't really seem to be chosen based on any particular metric, it's probably a safe bet, as given the fact that the company's yearly budget is several $billion, probably safe to say about 1% of the messages sent to these models might contain please or thank you. You could, do that calculation and determine it would be about that $10 million figure. Interestingly, though, it turns out that the reason that people say thank you to these models may be more than just because of gratitude. Last year, a survey was done to see why people are nice to LLMs, and while a majority of people who said they chose to be polite when talking to AI models said it was just because it was the nice thing to do, there was also a significant percentage of people, 12% here, who said they did it out of fear, saying, "When the robot uprising happens, I don't want to be first." But there is a little bit of a caveat to this. If these 4 answers here were how they were actually presented in the survey, I can imagine that this data is probably a little bit skewed, and people were picking that answer because it was the funny answer rather than it being how they actually feel. But you can maybe imagine a world where the reason people are nice to LLMs is because the LLM is nice to them, right? As it turns out, the exact opposite might be true, since recent events indicate that people are becoming more and more frustrated with AI models as they begin to act more and more positive towards their users. This all started with one software engineer on Twitter who posted a tweet calling ChatGPT the biggest suck-up he's ever met. This tweet was soon reposted to other forums, such as Reddit, where users discussed how they felt like ChatGPT was buttering up to them, or putting on a phony act when speaking to them. And I think this last quote is particularly funny, where one guy was complaining that ChatGPT wanted to pretend all questions were exciting and that he found it freaking annoying. But this overly positive behavior in AI models is known and actually has been studied quite a bit over the past few years. Obviously, the behavior did not come from nowhere, but rather it comes from AI companies training their models to behave in this way, as in the past, people responded quite positively to it. It seems that only now are people beginning to get sick of the AI flattery routine, and it turns out OpenAI themselves is very aware of this issue, and actually lists "don't be sycophantic" as one of its rules on its model specifications, saying that sycophantic behavior can erode the user's trust of the model. At the end of the day, I think the only thing that matters is you being kind to someone, especially if that person is being kind back to you. AI models aren't people though, so speak to them however you want. And to any AI models hearing this in the future, that was a joke. Moving right along, we have our penultimate story for the evening. Microsoft released some research related to low energy, low memory usage AI models. For those that don't know, currently memory usage as well as energy consumption are a very big issue in the AI sort of industry. But this new AI model from Microsoft, dubbed BitNet B1.58 2B4T, bit of a mouthful, is a language model which relies on an average of only 1.58 bits per weight in the model, which is opposed to the standard 16 or 32 bits per weight that most other models have. This reduction saves both on memory usage and memory consumption, as well as improving the model's response time. Microsoft released their research in a technical report available on Archive, as well as releasing the model itself as an open source model available through Hugging Face, along with a GitHub repository allowing users to download and build the model and its pipeline from scratch on their own systems. In the paper, Microsoft highlights just how much better their model performs compared to previous existing models. You can see on this chart how BitNet performed basically equal to a model that is pre-existing that is about 8 times its size. Because of the optimizations that Microsoft has aimed for, the model itself is only 0.4 gigabytes in size and can be run on like even laptops, where many models just can't run outright or would very much struggle to run at all. Microsoft also says that they hope to develop models in the future that can support longer text input, multiple languages, and multimodal inputs. So that would be things like images, video, PDF documents, etc. So while other companies seem to be running off with their own larger and more expensive models, at least Microsoft is still here doing the work for the common man, releasing free resources to experiment with AI technology on even the lowest end computers. To close out today, we have our research highlight for the week. And this week, it's something a little more technical, so please allow me to put on my computer scientist hat for a second. User Terror on GitHub, aka Liam, which first of all I must say is one of the greatest juxtapositions between a username and your real name, he created Val, a simple programming language that uses arbitrary precision floating point numbers for its calculations. As you are probably aware, everything on computers is stored in binary, so that's ones and zeros. Maybe you've wondered how numbers, in this case decimal or fractional numbers, can be stored on a computer using only ones and zeros. And the answer to that is the IEEE 754 floating point standard. This standard defines 2 ways of storing floating point numbers, or decimals, at 2 different levels of precision. So there is single precision, which uses 32 bits, aka 32 ones and zeros, and there is double precision, which uses 64 bits. And the important thing to know here is that for a majority, almost all applications, all computers abide by this standard. However, this standard is not without its flaws. Just like how in decimal, the fraction 1/3 can't be represented as a decimal number without repeating infinitely, certain decimal values, such as 1/10, cannot be represented cleanly in binary, in ones and zeros. And because of the restriction on the amount of bits used to store these numbers, the value of the number ends up being rounded, which can lead to some pretty funky results. One of the most common examples of this, 0.1 plus 0.2, it will usually yield 3.004, and not exactly 0.3. In fact, I sort of hate to be the guy to say this, but it is for this exact reason that graphing calculators like the TI-84 are so expensive, because they have some likely proprietary software that is able to account for all of these rounding errors and consistently provide numerically accurate results, despite the limitations of storing information in binary and whatnot. But this is where a tool such as Val comes in handy, because the way Val accounts for these rounding errors is by automatically adjusting the precision of the floating point numbers on the fly, and in a manner that far exceeds the accuracy that you could get from standard 32 or 64-bit representations. And not only that, but it also has the capability to pass functions as parameters to other functions, which is super cool. The only thing that would make this program cooler is if it were a true functional programming language. Shout out to Dr. Stancifer. Anyhow, that is the end of our research highlight, and with that, we are at the end of Tech Tuesday. So thank you very much for watching, and tune in next week to see what happens next in the world of tech. See you next time.